How good is the RTX 5090 mobile for editing video? Are laptops really just as powerful as desktops? I'm willing to bet you clicked on this video because you know better. So, just how big is the penalty when editing videos on DaVinci Resolve on a laptop compared to a desktop? I ran a series of tests on several laptops to find the answer. Okay, let's set the baseline. I used my home PC, a Ryzen 7 5800X with 32GB of DDR4 memory and the 5070 Ti. Then I thought to myself, why not set the comparison point to a mid-power PC also? So I added the Radeon 9060 XT in the mix. And who are the laptop contenders? Let's go through them one by one. A high-end RTX 5090 laptop, a Strix Halo iGPU laptop, an ARM Snapdragon laptop, a mid-level RTX 4050 laptop, and an entry-level Iris Xe1. You might remember my previous test when I wanted to find the real-world bottleneck of GPU-CPU combos for video editing. Link here. I tested 6 GPUs across 3 CPU platforms and the results were quite interesting. It shows that for DaVinci Resolve, the GPU is way more important than the CPU. It's well worth a watch and it sets some things into perspective for this test. You can jump to that video if you like and come back here afterwards. I would also encourage you to go through my playlist of videos for DaVinci Resolve. There's a lot of information there about render performance and what you can expect from Linux if you're brave enough. Anyway, when I first tested the ProArt GoPro edition, I learned that the desktop-laptop comparison is not quite fair. If you do a power budget, the PC can easily go up to 700 watts or more, whereas a laptop is constrained to 1 to 200 watts range. And there's no magic where less watts gets you more firepower. Okay, there's some cheat codes that you can apply. Tightly integrated GPU-CPU packages optimize for data transfer and overall better power efficiency. But there's caveats to this. Putting an RTX class GPU on the same die with the CPU creates a single chip with a 200 plus watt TDP. That's not an easy thing to power manage and cool. Bottom line, comparing a desktop and laptop is not quite fair. So I looked at my testing procedure and I did an update. My test uses a multitude of file types coming from several sources ranging from 8K, 6K OpenGate, 4K from video cameras, action cams and phones. I added some titles and generators, then applied color correction via color space transform to all of them, and then put a film look simulator on top. Well, it turns out that the film look simulator effect is really tough, but even more so on the laptops. It uses a lot of GPU firepower and given the limited power budget, that translates into very low render speeds. Disabling it produces dramatic speed boost results. While on the PC removing the film look effect doubled the performance, on the laptops it kind of tripled it. So I created two separate benchmark tracks. Light with no film look effect and full with a film look effect. Think of it like this. The light track is relevant for everyday exports, the full track is relevant for fancy artsy exports.
You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg, that is the least fancy thing I have ever heard.
Okay, enough talking, time to jump into the results. The first interesting thing I found out is that the RTX 5090 mobile is, performance-wise, on par with the 5070 Ti on desktop. Now you might be thinking, but it's a 5090. Why is it not better than the 5070 Ti? It should be better. First of all, Nvidia really likes to lie. Okay, let's not say lie, but massage the truth. There's no equivalence between desktop and mobile chips. The 5090 desktop has nearly double everything compared to the mobile version. In real life, the 5090 mobile has just a bit more cores, TMUs and ROPs compared to the desktop version of 5070 Ti, except for VRAM. The 5090 mobile has 24GB, the 5070 Ti desktop has 16. Still, for a laptop to be up there in the benchmark results with the desktop, that's a pretty good result. The 9060 XT was roughly half the speed of the pack leaders, and the ProArt GoPro edition is fourth after that with about a third the speed. But notice how the performance drop is lower for the light test compared to the full test. The ProArt GoPro edition uses a Strix Halo GPU, or rather an iGPU. There's no discrete GPU, it's all in one package. The GPU part is an RDNA 3.5 chip integrating some bits of RDNA 3 and some of RDNA 4. This explains quite well the split in performance. While for the lighter test it's half the speed of the top performance, for the full fat one it's 3.5 times slower.
Not great or terrible.
Let's take some time to discuss the odd man out now, the Qualcomm powered laptop. I was particularly curious about this one as it gives some almost Mac vibes, especially since DaVinci Resolve Studio has a full ARM release. The laptop itself, the ZenBook A16, it's quite an interesting piece of hardware. It's unbelievably light, and for everyday tasks the battery life is simply amazing. The OLED screen is gorgeous, and unless you really throw heavy stuff at it, you'll never hear the fans or feel any significant heat. When it comes to DaVinci Resolve though, there's not much to talk about.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
The sad reality is it trades blow with the 4050 Mobile, the lowest tier discrete GPU launched 3 years ago. But there's a strange thing happening here. In the light render test, the Qualcomm laptop is quite faster, while in full performance is quite slower. I double and triple check the results to make sure there is no error. But one more disturbing issue, and an extra caution for Qualcomm laptops, is that some effects and generators didn't work properly. In one instance, the output was corrupted with green pixels. It was a completely recurring issue.
It's a flesh wound.
So if you use it for DaVinci Resolve, make sure you double check the final render. And last on the list, alone in the corner, the Iris Xe laptop. Both render tests were so abysmal that it was an actual exercise in masochism to run them. Iris Xe is so far behind that it would need its own category. By the time it was done rendering,
I'm tired, boss.
a more interesting metric for me was something else, however. The FPS rendering speed of every system. In my book, a usable editing platform should be capable of rendering above normal playback speed. Let's set the number at 30 FPS. For the full performance test, that sets the bar very high. Only the desktop 5070 Ti and the 5090 Mobile are able to jump over that hurdle. If we lower the bar a little bit, with the light test, the 9060 XT on the desktop and the Strix Halo are able to meet the threshold. The rest of the pack are, in my opinion, unusable, unless you're stuck on a deserted island.
Well done!
Drawing the line, if you want to do some serious editing on the go, you need the Asus ProArt P16 with the RTX 5090 Mobile GPU. Your wallet won't be happy about that. It will set you back about $5,500 or about 6,000 euro.
Here's Johnny.
The upside is that you will be able to do complex timeline edits and renders on the go, and that's especially important if you need to deliver same-day videos. The Asus ProArt PX13 GoPro Edition with the Radeon 8060S is also a usable option, provided you work around the limitations. Be careful which effects you apply and only render when you're sure of all the edits. The price is a slightly more palatable $3,000 or 3,000 euros.
Mild shock.
If you can't afford that, you're better off editing your videos on a PC at home. It's a better spend of your money to buy the 5070 Ti or a 9070 XT and use that for editing. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Feel free to leave your questions and comments down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you found this video interesting, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a subscribe to the channel. Until next time.